Welcome to my philosophy channel. Why do some people live in constant chaos, while others can instantly see the hidden truth in any mess? In a world of endless change, how do a rare few grasp absolute certainty? The core difference lies in whether you can catch hold of that unchanging underlying principle. Today, we are going to demystify the seemingly mystical concept of the Tao, specifically diving into chapter 14 of the Tao Te Ching. We will break down this profound wisdom so you can apply it to the chaos of your modern life. Chapter summary. In this opening section, we uncover the illusion of our senses and discover why the most powerful forces in our lives remain completely invisible and untouchable. The ancient philosopher Laozi explained this. Simply yet profoundly, he said, what you look at but cannot see is called formless. What you listen to but cannot hear is called soundless. What you grasp for but cannot touch is called intangible at first glance. Many people feel confused by this. If you cannot see it, hear it, or touch it, does that not mean it simply does not exist? Is it just empty talk? But friends, if we look at this through the lens of modern science, Lao Tzu made a godlike prediction 2,500 years ago. What can our human eyes actually see? We can only perceive a tiny sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum called visible light. Can you see infrared rays? Can you see ultraviolet rays? You cannot see them, yet they utterly and truly exist. This is exactly what he meant by looking but not seeing. What can our ears actually hear? Only sound waves ranging from 20 Hz to 20,000 Hz. You cannot hear ultrasound and you cannot hear infrasound. The roar of the earth rotating is deafeningly loud, yet you hear nothing. You cannot even hear the sound of blood rushing through your own veins. This is listening but not hearing. And what can our hands actually touch? We can only grasp macroscopic objects. You cannot feel the microscopic atoms and quarks that make up everything. This is grasping, but not touching. Lao Tzu told us millennia ago that the true nature of this world is mostly invisible. What our human senses can perceive is merely a tiny fraction of reality. If you only focus on chasing what is visible, wealth, status, material goods, you will spend your entire life running blindly in circles. The truly important forces are those underlying rules that cannot be seen, heard, or grasped, yet govern absolutely everything. Lao Tzu called this ultimate underlying rule the Tao. You do not need to think of the Tao as something overly mystical. It is simply the most fundamental governing principle behind all things. Why does wealth stay with certain people? Why does a passionate relationship slowly grow cold? Why do some people live with increasing ease while others feel constantly suffocated? Behind all of these phenomena, the Tao is secretly at work. Chapter summary. Here we explore the concept of wholeness, challenging traditional reductionist thinking by revealing how seemingly separate problems are actually projections of one unified truth. Lao Tzu continued by stating that these three qualities, the invisible, the inaudible, and the intangible, cannot be fully investigated or separated. Therefore, they blend together and become one. This single sentence directly challenges the mainstream paradigm of Western philosophy known as reductionism. Reductionism believes that to understand a complex system, you simply need to break it down into its smallest components. For example, breaking down biology into cells or breaking down matter into atoms. However, when we dissect life into mere molecules, the phenomenon of life itself disappears. When we break consciousness down into neural electrical potentials, self-awareness vanishes completely. Lao Tzu emphasized blending them into one. This represents a profound holistic and systems thinking approach from the perspective of the Tao. Visual, auditory, and tactile senses are unified from a higher dimensional viewpoint. They are just different facets of the same massive system, blended into one. This one unified whole is the Tao. The Tao is not pseudoscience or baseless mysticism. The Tao is the foundational operating rule of everything. In the universe, something you cannot completely deconstruct or perfectly describe, but which authentically exists. Let us do a thought experiment to truly grasp this blended Tao. Imagine a colony of ants living on a two-dimensional piece of paper. Their entire universe consists only of length and width. If you press 3 fingers down onto their paper simultaneously, the ants will only see 3 independent, completely unrelated circles appear out of nowhere. The ant scientists would endlessly study circle A, circle B, and circle C. They would firmly believe these are 3 entirely separate entities, but the moment you lift your hand, all 3 circles vanish instantly and simultaneously. To the ants, this is an unexplainable miracle or a ghostly anomaly, but to you, existing in 3 dimensions, those 3 circles were always a unified whole. The projection of your single hand onto their 2-dimensional plane. Laozi stood at this higher dimensional vantage point of the Tao. He looked down at the seemingly isolated phenomena of our 3-dimensional world, the invisible, inaudible, and intangible, and saw that behind them all exists a singular, unified entity. This is the original true form of the Tao. Chapter summary. In this section, we transcend binary opposites like good and bad, using modern quantum concepts to understand how embracing the formless Tao can cure our deepest anxieties. So if this Tao cannot be seen or touched, what exactly is it? Is it just a dead, silent black hole? Laozi described it further, saying its upper part is not bright and its lower part is not dark. What does it mean to be neither bright nor dark? He is actually telling us that the Tao transcends all binary opposites. We ordinary people view the world through opposites. If there is up, there must be down. If there is good, there must be bad. If there is kindness, there must be evil. But the Tao is a primordial soup. It harbors no such distinct separations. It exists as an evenly diffused, continuous state of being. It is endless and unceasing, yet it cannot be named, ultimately returning to a state of nothingness. Notice here that Laozi introduces a super concept, nothingness. This does not mean it does not exist. Rather, it means it is not any specific concrete object. It is not a desk, not a chair, not an atom, and not a molecule. Then, what is it? Laozi continued to describe it as the shape of no shape, the image of no object. This is called the indistinct and illusory. Now, illusory here does not mean being absent, minded, unfocused, or spiritually weak in ancient Eastern philosophy. This indistinctness represents an unfathomably high state of being. It describes something strikingly similar to a quantum superposition state in modern physics. Look at an electron. In quantum mechanics, where is it? It is both here and not here. It is simultaneously a particle and a wave. It exists in an indistinct blur of possibilities. Only when you forcefully observe it does it collapse into one concrete reality. Laozi is telling us that the essence of this world is not made of the specific shapes and forms we see, but of flowing energy and an infinite collection of possibilities. You stand before it, but cannot see its face. You follow behind it, but cannot see its back. The Tao has neither a starting point nor an ending point. It is a flowing momentum, omnipresent, beginningless, and endless. At this point, many of you might feel overwhelmed. You might say, this is too esoteric. What do invisible forms, quantum states, and endless loops have to do with me making money, paying rent, or living my daily life? The answer is everything. It is precisely because you cannot understand these formless forms that you become trapped by things that have a concrete form. Why do so many people suffer deeply? Because you take the immediate tangible situations right in front of you way too seriously. You believe a career failure is a concrete, irreversible disaster, so you become consumed by anxiety. You believe a heartbreak is a concrete final ending, so you become consumed by pain. But from the perspective of the Tao, all these events are indistinct and illusory. They cannot be rigidly defined. You cannot see their true beginning or end. A business failure might just be the incubation period for your next great success. a devastating breakup might just be the necessary preparation for finding true love. If you can view the world through this indistinct, fluid perspective, you will cease stubbornly clinging to one single point in time. You will see the flow, you will see the constant change, you will recognize the infinite possibilities. This is the very first step in breaking out of the prison of tangible things and entering the infinite game of life. Chapter summary. Finally, we reach the ultimate practical application, learning how to grasp the eternal rules, to tame the wild horses of our daily troubles and achieve true inner certainty. Having laid all this groundwork, we finally arrive at the climax and the most practical operation of this entire philosophy. The final teaching of this chapter explains how to use this power. There are two ancient interpretations here. The first version says, hold on to the Tao of antiquity to master the realities of the present. A second discovered text says, hold on to the Tao of the present to master the realities of the present. One focuses on the ancient, one on the present. How do we make sense of this first? What are the realities of the present? They are every single concrete trouble you are facing right now, your unpaid bills, your stressful work deadlines, your rebellious children, your receding hairline, and your complicated social relationships. These are all tangible, concrete things. They are realities that crush you until you can barely breathe. The word master used here is incredibly vivid. Imagine reality is a wild, bucking horse kicking and jumping uncontrollably. You are the driver of the carriage. The reins in your hands are the Tao. As long as you tightly grasp these reins, no matter how fast or wildly the horse runs, it will ultimately take you exactly where you want to go. So should we use the ancient Tao or the present Tao to drive through these concrete troubles? To understand this, we must define both. The ancient Tao represents those eternal, unchanging rules that cannot be seen, heard, or touched. This means you must take principles that have remained true for billions of years to manage the messy, senseless chaos of today. The logic here is that the Tao is eternal. You can use the unchanging to handle the ever-changing. On the other hand, what is the present Tao? It is the underlying rule, hidden right behind the specific problem you are facing in this exact moment. This means you must grasp the living reality of the present second. The Tao is alive and flowing right in front of your eyes. You do not need to dig through dusty ancient tomes. You just need to open your eyes and see the immediate pattern. You must analyze specific problems with specific context. This is a philosophy of extreme realism and being fully present in the moment. It pulls philosophy down from the clouds and plants it firmly in the dirt of daily life. Which version is right? Laozi concludes by saying that being able to know the ancient origin is called the essence of the Tao. If we look at the first interpretation, it tells us to use eternal rules to solve today's problems. The second interpretation tells us that if we fully understand and solve the present moment, we naturally connect with the eternal source, because the universe exists in a single grain of sand, and eternity is captured in a single second. Your current problem is simply the result of the Tao operating right now. You do not need to travel back in time. If you completely penetrate the present, you will understand eternity. Therefore, both interpretations are incredibly powerful. The key is not whether it is ancient or present. The key is the Tao itself. As long as you can use unchanging principles to drive through changing circumstances, you will hold the ultimate clue to the universe. In this exploration, we have undergone a massive elevation in how we view reality. We have stepped out of the dark cave of our limited senses to directly face a bizarre, indescribable, yet ultimately authentic underlying universe. We have learned to close our physical eyes and open our wisdom eyes. We have learned to turn off the noise and listen to the grand mechanism of existence. We have learned to jump out of the tangible mess of daily life and firmly grasp that simple, unadorned, yet infinitely powerful truth. This grants us a tremendous sense of certainty. In this era filled with constant unpredictability, the greatest sense of security does not come from how much money you have hoarded in the bank, nor from how many important people you know. It comes from grasping the Tao, because you know deep down that no matter how crazy the world becomes, some things will never change. Just like the sun will inevitably rise, tomorrow's spring will always follow the harshest winter. If you plant good seeds, you will reap a good harvest. Helping others will ultimately elevate yourself. Armed with this absolute certainty, you can effortlessly master any uncertain world. This is what it means to wield the formless power within a formed world, because everything you can see will eventually pass away. Only the invisible truly lasts forever. Thank you so much for journeying through this deep dive with me today. I truly hope this video gives you a stronger, intuitive feel for the profound power hidden in our universe. If you found value in this perspective, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss our next deep dive into the minds of enlightened masters. Before you go, I want to ask you a question to ponder in the comments below. What is one concrete problem in your life right now that you could solve if you stopped focusing on the surface chaos and started looking for the invisible pattern beneath it? Let me know your thoughts. Until next time, stay present and stay curious.